Okay, so you know those times when you get a nagging ache or maybe you can't sleep a wink, and you just get this feeling like there's something more going on beneath the surface?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. You've sent us some really interesting research on auricular medicine and laser acupuncture. And it all revolves around this fascinating idea. What if our ears are kind of like secret control panels for the body? Expert speaker, you and I are about to explore how stimulating specific points on the ear just might be able to tap into the body's energy pathways
Mm.
and potentially address all kinds of health concerns. Ready to decode the language of the ears?
I am. It's a field that blends ancient wisdom and modern science in a way that I find truly fascinating.
Okay, so we've got to start with the basics. The foundation of all this is that the ear isn't just for hearing. It's like a microsystem, a tiny mirror that reflects the whole body. How does that work?
Well, think of it like this. Your ear is covered in a network of reflex zones. Each zone corresponds to a specific organ system, even just a part of the body. Just like a reflexology map, but for your ears.
So if you were to look at an auricular map, and yes, these maps exist and they're incredibly detailed, you'd see the whole body laid out there.
Precisely. And what I find so fascinating is this isn't some new age theory. The whole field was sparked back in the 1950s by a French physician named Dr. Paul Nogier.
Okay, tell me more about Dr. Nogier. What was his aha moment?
He was treating patients for sciatica, that pain that radiates down the leg.
Yeah.
And he noticed that some patients found relief after a pretty outdated practice. Cauterization of the ear.
Hold on, cauterization.
Yeah.
Like with a hot iron. That sounds intense.
It was a different time. But thankfully, we've moved on to much gentler methods. The point is, Nogier was intrigued. Why would treating the ear impact something like sciatica?
I can see why that would spark some serious curiosity.
Exactly. That's when he dove into research and discovered that stimulating specific points on the ear could actually correspond to and impact different areas of the body.
So is that how auricular medicine was born?
It was a big piece of the puzzle. Nogier's work eventually led to the development of auricular therapy, which is now recognized by the World Health Organization.
Wow, going from cauterizing ears to WHO recognition. So that's quite a journey. But how does it work? I've heard it has something to do with energy pathways.
You're on the right track. This is
Oh,
where traditional Chinese medicine and its concept of meridians comes in.
okay, meridians. For those who haven't explored acupuncture, can you give us a quick explanation?
Of course, meridians are like energy highways that run throughout your body. They're invisible channels that help ensure a smooth flow of energy, or qi, as it's called in TCM, to all your organs and systems.
So if these meridians are like highways, what happens when there's a blockage?
You can think of it like a traffic jam. Everything gets backed up. That blockage, according to TCM, can then manifest as pain illness or imbalances in the body.
Okay, I'm with you so far. So how do meridians relate to the ear?
This is where Dr. Nogier's discoveries get even more interesting. He found that these meridians, these energy pathways, have corresponding points on the ear. Imagine it like a reflexology map, but for your energy systems.
So by stimulating a point on the ear, you're essentially influencing the flow of energy in a corresponding meridian that runs through the whole body.
Exactly. And here is where Nogier made another groundbreaking discovery. He realized that our bodies on a cellular level resonate with specific frequencies.
Frequency, you mean like sound waves or something?
In a way, yes. He identified 7 primary frequencies that resonate with different tissues and functions in the body.
I've heard about sound healing and how different vibrations can impact us. Is this a similar concept?
It's all connected. Think of it like this. Each cell, each organ hums with its own unique frequency. When those frequencies are disrupted or out of tune, it can throw things out of whack in the body.
And auricular medicine aims to use these frequencies to get things back in sync.
Hmm.
So we're not just talking about sticking needles in ears here. We're talking about subtle energy work.
It's a fascinating blend of ancient principles and modern understanding of the body's intricate energy systems. It's about finding those subtle imbalances and gently nudging the body back towards its own innate ability to heal.
Okay, now my mind is officially blown. This is way more than just a way to treat an earache.
That's what makes this field so compelling. It challenges our conventional understanding of health and healing in a way that I find incredibly exciting.
This has me wondering, what else did Dr. Lear discover about these frequencies and how they influence the body? This feels like just the tip of the iceberg. The military, what do they use it for?
They call it battlefield acupuncture, and it's used to provide really quick pain relief for soldiers when they're out in the field. It's especially helpful for acute pain, and it can be really, really effective in those critical moments.
Wow, battlefield acupuncture. If it's good enough for soldiers in those high-stress situations, it makes you think about what else it could be used for. But let me ask you this. Is auricular medicine meant to, like, replace conventional medicine altogether, or is it more about using different approaches together?
Yeah, that's a really important point. While it can be very powerful in its own right, auricular medicine and laser acupuncture are often most effective when they're used as part of a broader holistic approach to health.
So it's kind of like having a really diverse toolkit and finding what works best for each person.
Exactly. It's about empowering people to take control of their own well-being and explore different avenues to healing. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's about finding what works best for you.
I love that. So it's not just about treating the physical body, it's about addressing the whole person.
Right. Absolutely. We're talking mind, body, and spirit. After all, stress can manifest physically, and physical pain can definitely impact our mental and emotional states.
It's all connected like some sort of complex web.
Precisely. That's why it's so important to approach health from a holistic perspective, taking all aspects of ourselves into account.
Okay, so we've got this intricate map in our ears and this whole system of energy flowing through our bodies. But how do we actually access it to help the body heal?
Well, for centuries, the primary method has been acupuncture. But for those who aren't a fan of needles, there's a modern alternative. Laser acupuncture.
Laser acupuncture. So we're using light instead of needles. How does that even work?
It may sound pretty futuristic, but it's based on the same principles as traditional acupuncture. Basically, instead of a needle, we use a low-level laser beam to stimulate those acupoints on the ear.
So it's targeting those same energy pathways and frequencies that we talked about, but without actually having to use any needles.
Yeah.
That honestly sounds much more approachable for a lot of people, including myself.
It is. It's totally painless and non-invasive, which makes it an awesome option for children, people who are afraid of needles, or those with sensitive skin.
Now, that's what I call a win-win. We've been talking a lot about treating symptoms. Our source material also talks about something called focal disturbances. What are those, and how do they fit into this whole idea?
That's a really important part of this whole thing. Focal disturbances are basically like roadblocks in your journey to feeling better. They're underlying issues that can actually prevent the body from fully recovering, even if they seem totally unrelated to the main problem.
Okay, so they're kind of like a hidden wrench in the works. Can you give me an example?
Absolutely. Let's say you have chronic headaches. So you treat the symptoms, but they just keep coming back. A focal disturbance in this scenario could be something like an old jaw injury you had, or even something as seemingly insignificant as a decayed tooth.
Wait, are you serious? A toothache can cause headaches. How is that even possible?
It all comes back to those energy pathways we were talking about earlier. Remember we were comparing them to a highway system? Like
Yeah.
if there's a blockage on a highway, it can cause traffic to back up for miles,
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense.
Well, focal disturbances are kind of like those blockages. They disrupt that nice, smooth flow of energy in the body. And just like a traffic jam, the effects can be felt in areas that you wouldn't think are related at all.
So even if you treat the symptoms in one area, if you don't actually deal with that underlying focal disturbance, the problem might just keep coming back.
Exactly. And that's why auricular medicine can be so effective. It's not about just masking symptoms. It's more about playing detective and uncovering those hidden roadblocks to healing.
I like the sound of that. It's like you're giving your body the support it needs to heal properly from the inside out.
Exactly. It's all about finding the root cause and addressing that, not just the symptoms.
This is really making me rethink how I view health. But it also brings up a big question. What kinds of conditions can auricular medicine and laser acupuncture actually be used to treat?
That's what's so cool about it. It can be applied to so many different things. We've already talked a bit about pain management, but it can also be used for anxiety, insomnia, and even substance abuse.
Substance abuse, really?
Hmm.
How can treating your ear help with addiction?
There's this specific protocol called the NADA protocol that's shown some really promising results. It works by stimulating 5 very specific points on the ear that are thought to help reduce cravings, manage withdrawal symptoms, and promote a feeling of calm and well-being.
Wow. So instead of turning to another substance, you're basically retraining your body and mind to find balance in a more natural way.
That's the general idea. And we're not just talking about anecdotal evidence here either. The NADA protocol has been adopted by a ton of addiction treatment centers all over the world, and even the U.S. military has recognized how helpful it can be.
The military. Now that's interesting. The military. Now that's interesting.
Yeah, they've actually started using it to help soldiers who are dealing with pain. They call it battlefield acupuncture, and it's used to provide really fast pain relief right there in the field. It's especially helpful for acute pain, and it can make a huge difference in those really intense situations.
Wow, battlefield acupuncture. If it's good enough for soldiers in those kinds of high-stress environments, you have to wonder what else it could be used for. But let me ask you this. Is auricular medicine meant to be like a replacement for conventional medicine? Or is it more about finding ways to use different approaches together?
That's a great question. While auricular medicine and laser acupuncture can be very powerful on their own, they're often most effective when they're used as part of a broader, holistic approach to health.
So it's about taking bits and pieces from different approaches and figuring out what works best for each person.
Exactly. It's about giving people the tools and knowledge they need to take control of their own well-being and explore all sorts of different paths to healing. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all approach.
I love that. So we're not just talking about treating the physical body here. It's really about addressing the whole person, isn't it?
Absolutely. Mind, body, and spirit. After all, stress can often manifest in physical ways, and physical pain can absolutely have an impact on our mental and emotional states.
It's all interconnected, like some kind of intricate web.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to think about health from a holistic perspective and consider all the different facets of ourselves.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of what auricular medicine and laser acupuncture have to offer.
We've only just begun to explore the incredible connections between our ears and our overall health. It really makes you wonder what other secrets our bodies are hiding.
Right. It's like our bodies are these incredible universes just waiting to be discovered. So for our listeners who are now totally intrigued by this, like we are, what's the key takeaway here? What can they actually do with this information?
For me, it's about recognizing that amazing interconnectedness that exists within our bodies. Our bodies are incredible self-healing machines, and sometimes all they need is a little nudge in the right direction to tap into that power.
And it sounds like our ears might hold the key to unlocking that potential.
Precisely. By blending ancient wisdom and cutting-edge technology, we're really starting to understand how to heal and thrive in completely new ways.
This has definitely left me feeling inspired. Inspired to pay closer attention to my body's signals, to explore different approaches to wellness, and maybe even give auricular medicine a try myself.
It sounds like you're on the right track to discovering the incredible healing power within you.
And for everyone listening out there, I hope this deep dive has left you feeling that same sense of wonder and curiosity. Keep asking questions, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep listening to your body. It might be trying to tell you something.